전신 의체에 대해서도 고려해보지 않은 건 아니지만 워프 열차 왕복권은 사비로 결제했습니다. 파우스트는 1등석으로 예약했죠. 일반석이 아니라 1등석을 예약한 이유에 대해서 아직 저는 알 수 없어요. 하지만 파우스트는 알고 있겠죠.
Well, if you say so. Greetings and salutations, everyone. I'm MultiCrack. This is Let's Play Limbus Company Murder on the Warp Express. In the last episode, Faust put all the information together and has decided that we are currently suffering the person causing all the trouble is probably a Bloodfiend. We have story and combat, and we have 5 types of enemies, I think. Level 45 enemies too. So, I actually did some tampering with the setup. I want to see 20, 40, 20, 20. I believe that, yeah, that is enough to max out our bonuses. So then. And then, you? Actually, no. Now, something we have to be cautious about is that we want to make sure that Middlemer Soul is in the backup. We want to keep him in backup for as long as possible because he's going to be fixing up Captain Ishmael.
일인가요? 청소 준비 완료?
준비는 완료.
형님. 응, 금방 가지.
Yeah, I think that's a good experimental setup. I am going to have to uptie Faust, though. There's just no other way around it. Wait, a Bloodfiend? What's a Bloodfiend? A Bloodfiend? What in the name of the wings is that? You of all people haven't heard about Bloodfiends? Thought you were a team expert on obscure lore. Verily, I have not once heard mention of these Bloodfiends. Perchance I have let a magazine article slip from my memory? Don Quixote furrowed her brows, genuinely lost. It was the very word sounded alien to her. I thought they were just monsters in stories to scare children in the night. They're supposed to be afraid of garlic and sunlight, right? Oh, that sounds a bit different from what I've heard. I heard their fear of garlic and sunlight is just a rumor, and what they're really afraid of is water. I have been briefed on the existence of Bloodfiends in the past, when I served as a commanding officer, and I have seen the dregs that they command. Though my memory isn't very clear, I am quite certain that these monsters here do not resemble what I've seen. I've seen one who called themselves a Bloodfiend among fingers, but the things that the Bloodfiend commanded weren't like these rubber-textured ones. There's something off about this one. That one didn't spawn these dregs with abandon like this. But aren't you supposed to know this already? Yes, I see that some sinners may have encountered Bloodfiends in the past. A long-winded explanation seems unnecessary. As many of you stated thus far, the entities we have faced in this train do not appear to be Bloodfiends. In a sense, they are dread-like beings that have failed to become kindreds. They're referred to as blood bags among relevant parties according to information I am aware of. Not a terrible name. Why would anyone name someone blood bags? As it has been said prior, it is impossible for passengers to disappear aboard the warp trains under normal circumstances. Though our reserve of intelligence regarding the warp trains or W Corps is vast, if incomplete, we could not find a possible exception to the above rule. Within that reserve of intelligence, however, I have discovered that inserting a previously unseen variable into the equation allows for a formulation of a new hypothesis. Wait, you're saying that these Bloodfiends can completely erase people or passengers from existence? A more accurate descriptor would be to say that they are either dissolved or vaporized. Dissolve? No matter the degree of violence the passengers may indulge in, no matter how severe the damages may be, the warp trains can revert them to their initial states at the beginning of the journey. Among several interpretations of the word violence involves cannibalization, of course. Ugh. However, as the passengers' collective time itself is in moratorium for the duration of the train's operation, digestion is not a biological process that should be active. In other words, even devoured passengers could be reconstructed. If they are merely stuffed into the digestive tract, I suppose they could gut the passengers to retrieve the chewed up chunks of other passengers and piece them back together via the vein-like things connecting each individual. However, such is not true for blood bags. Blood bags are, by their nature, obsessed with blood. Their existence hinges upon supplying themselves with the blood of their victims. And it is said that they must consume a minuscule amount of blood to maintain their forms. Wait, what? Didn't you just say that digestion's not a thing while we're on the train? If I were to continue my deductions, perhaps consumption of blood for blood fiends and blood bags is a fundamentally different process from our consumption of nutrients for energy. Weird, you'd think that would have been brought up because in Library of Ruina, Blue Reverberation's people on the train were one of them was actually a blood fiend. To them, blood is a culmination, an entailment of something that forms the self, including but not limited to emotions, ambitions, wealth, purposes of existence. Then it must naturally follow that they can spend their blood at will, which is a process that is isolated from other biological processes such as digestion. Well, I ain't following even half of that. You exist in moratorium of time at the present moment, Heathcliff, yet your emotions still persist, do they not? Anger, sorrow, and joy, they continue to spark within you. Huh? Well, I suppose they are. Though we cannot tell whether they may be in a state of alteration or whether they remain ensnared in the wheel of creation and destruction. It can be said that emotions, once past, exist not in continuation. The passengers' will to persist, the worth of this very existence in which they thrive, do they not all gently atrophy into non-existence even among the ceased time? Miss Faust seeks to illustrate the similarity between how emotions are to ourselves and how blood is to blood fiends. Gotcha, so that's why she said that their blood is vaporized, huh? If that's the case, then the very blood that's supposed to bind these chunks of flesh together will also evaporate, which means they can't be pieced back together. There is no incongruence in that logic. Everyone fell silent for a moment. That was way too much information to process at once. We didn't even know what to make of them either. I would like to ask a few questions if you would permit me. Yi Sang was the first to break the silence. Could it be said that blood bags are direct creations of blood fiends? If such is the case, then by which method do they... That information is inaccessible at the moment. Faust replies, avoiding Yi Sang's gaze. There isn't anything I can do about this. The sinners will only get more stressed if they find out. And that's something Faust and I both want to avoid. Inaccessible. Ah, indeed. Now I recall what you have said in the past. This is only a speculation, however. I assume that a form of direct physical contact is needed to turn an individual into a blood bag. If such were not the case, then we, who are likely the greatest obstacles to this entity's goal at the moment, would have been the first ones to be turned. Indeed. In that case, that villain of a blood fiend must be hiding out somewhere aboard this train! You know, people actually joked about Don Quixote being a blood fiend because of how her base ego gives her heal on hit against a target with bleed. Indeed, if we are to believe the words of the fixer from earlier, there is a high likelihood that the horde is advancing in this direction from the back of the train. In other words, continuing down the train cars will lead us straight to the blood fiend. Very well, I shan't forsake this opportunity to bring peace to the souls of the innocent passengers who have perished by the villain's hands. Dante. It seemed that Don Quixote was now invigorated. The other sinners also seemed satisfied now that we had a clearer sight of our goal. Faust, who stood amidst them, nodded in my direction. Well then, let's go. We're making the best of what's available to us at the moment. Let's move forward for now. Yi Seng probably knows, but he's keeping quiet on it because he's also one of the people trying to get along. Oh! Okay, you are new. Feral Blood Bag Cleanup Agent. What's a cleanup agent doing here? 5, 5. 5 plus 4. 5 plus 4. So these guys are actually using some charge count to get bleed out there. Power leakage. When hit, if the attacker uses a skill that gains charge, the attacker steals charge from this unit once per skill and does not activate if the unit does not have charge. So that's this guy. Self-inflicted damage due to this unit's skills do not reduce the unit's HP under 0. Consume all charge on self, consume 2 charge count, 15 minus charge count percent HP to gain coin power. Alright, and then we have Violent Blood Bag, Aggressive Blood Bag, Craving Blood Bag. So one of these is different. You're the bleed count. You're the bleed potency. You inflict bleed and bleed count, so you're the one who will be slightly problematic. So yeah, you're going to have a little bit extra base power because we hit you and give you the bleed. Ooh yeah, that's a spooky skill. Oh wait, we can't do that. Not the greatest, but we can at least say, yeah, it would be nice if we could get just a little bit of extra pride here. But we can't do that without giving him a free shot on us, and we can't afford that. You really shouldn't have won that. I hope you know that. Oh, bad roll. Now here's the question. If at 6 Envy Absolute Resonance including this skill, use a Just Vengeance as her counter. Can we reach that? 12 to 35, that's gonna hurt a lot. We just barely can't reach the full Envy Resonance though. Maybe I should have given it to Donnie. But that said, she is going to absolutely wreck face when that hit. Wait, did you actually win that?
차리게. 장부에 따르면 맨정신에 죽여야 하니까.
She won! You had absolutely no right to win that, but you did. And I can't say that I'm complaining either. You know what, let's just go Harpoon of Obsession here.
내가 시범을 보이지.
이 작살엔 필살의 집념이 담겨있지. 이 작살엔 필살의 집념이 담겨있지. 맘.
Now the downside is that because these are people in speed tire, why are you back again? I guess they are also running on chain battle mechanics, but because these are equal level guys to us, we're going to be losing SP on Captain Ishmael here. Which is why we have Mersault in backup, because he gives us 10 SP back for her having friends from the same faction. One, two, three. Ugh. Oh, you actually have a guard skill, not a counter. Alright, that's nice. Does anyone in this party actually have gloom skills?
이번 차량을 정.
Just you, and you've only got one, so Ishmael might be in a little bit of a pickle. We definitely don't have anyone with sloth, I can say that much.
충전 기능 점검. 단숨에 정렬. 핫! 벌써 끝나가는군.
Okay, this is definitely an event that wants you to bring identities for bleed. Even though it's a W core event, you really want to bring in people that can inflict bleed because the self bleed count really helps out on all the identities.
제압 완료. 승객 보관 준비.
Ugh, they just don't want to go down. Okay. This actually might be a time to use Contempt All. And we make it part of a Lust Resonance. So it refunds a bunch of... it gives us a bunch of ego resources.
총원 불격!
Oh wait, this is going to trigger her... This is going to trigger the debuff. Whoops.
모든 시선이 이끌리지.
Yeah, she has 7 of her gaze, which means that next turn she's going to have 7 of the wrong gaze, get a lot of protection and aggression.
승객 보관 준비. 승객 무력 확인.
기름도 나오지 않는 놈이구려.
Oh, the fight's already over. Feral Blood Bag Agent. Charge count and bleed count, charge count and bleed count. Consume charge on self. Inflict 6 bleed, absorb bleed to heal. And he leaks the charge. Okay.
차리게. 장부에 따르면 맨정신에 죽여야 하니까. 잘했군. 한 놈도 남지 않을 때까지 지금을 반복한다. 쉴 새는 없다.
I don't know, I think I like this combination.
훌륭한 전시회였어. 하, 이걸 오히려 고맙다고 말해야 하나?
Now that said, I think it's safe for us to look at her Uptie story, and we have about 9 minutes to go. So, we're going to Uptie Faust. If it is not safe to watch this, if it's some sort of super heavy spoilers, then I will put it up on screen right about now, okay? Okay.
의뢰 목표를 처리했습니다. 이번 원정 의뢰도 철저히 준비한 보람이 있군요.
Several noises are present at this child's desk. Sounds of fingers tapping on a keyboard and a pen tip scratching against the paper among them. A fixer, armed with prosthetics, nervously approached the child and presented a set of documents before her. The child took them in one hand, barely paying attention to... I'm jumbling my words here. Barely paying attention to the fixer. Your budget proposal has been reviewed, but several points of necessary adjustments have also been identified. Yes, ma'am. The fixer shuddered a little, dreading her next words. While this child was generally of a gentle disposition, she was very strict when it came to documents and numbers. It barely mattered how many times the office employees reviewed, proofread, and meticulously checked every little detail in the reports for typos and miscalculations. They could never stand proudly in front of this perfectionist child as they presented their reports to her. And just as the fixer had dreaded, the child stops and loads up numerous data graphics on her monitor before even moving past the first few pages of the document. It feels necessary to note that the purposes of this contract expedition extend beyond the contract itself. A part of it is to expand the office's partnership via business meetings with P-Corps, and the other is to attend inventors' conferences to establish partnerships with new trading workshops. Yeah, actually, I did take that part into account when setting our budget. I made sure to prepare more than enough funds to... It appears that each participant in this expedition is universally assigned a 24-hour day budget. However, each participant must be assigned hours specifically tailored towards their roles in this expedition. Please note that we will be meeting with workshops of varying wealth brackets, some located within nests, some located in the back streets. Oh. Research the average daily hours for T-Corps upperclassmen and backstreets inventors. Oh, and you have neglected to include a list of workshops that the office seeks to visit. The fixer froze in place. If it wasn't for his prosthetic eye, he would have been constantly squeezing his eyes shut, cringing at each pointed criticism she made. Most of the officer's contracts have been with P-Corps, so your ignorance of T-Corps' idiosyncrasies is understandable and expected. What is impressive is Faust's knowledge, which lies far beyond any average metric. The child briefly glances at the fixer, before saying some very unreassuring words of reassurance. But she also pointed to a part of the document before complimenting his work. It was her own way of giving him a carrot after the series of sticks she had just delivered. Using the warp train is an acceptable suggestion, however. Set apart a week of our schedule and contact the Seven Association to conduct on-site surveys. Do not forget to verify that information yourself, of course. Just as the fixer was about to respond, she motioned him to stop. And after a long contemplation, she began. Expand the warp train budget. Ma'am, that budget is more than enough. W-Corps is running a promotion for economy class tickets, so... That would normally be the case indeed. However, the child gazes into the air for a moment, before closing her eyes to think. She does that often when she's trying to understand something that's not so easily understood. I may be travelling in a first-class seat instead. Seriously? The fixer raised all four of his hands, surprised by her request. The child looked away from the documents at the fixer's overreaction. She glanced at him. She glared at him, her eyebrows lowered with a look of perplexed disdain. Is there a problem with that? No, it's just unexpected. I just thought you would consider a first-class seat a waste of money. Like, what's the use of all that luxury and the immense budget if you only get to enjoy it for just 10 seconds? That's horribly inefficient. On that, I do agree. However, it is how it is. I do not quite understand what the Gesellschaft is thinking. Shaft? Are you feeling shafted by something, boss? No, it's nothing. In any case, update the proposal as per my requests and place it on this desk by tomorrow morning. If you believe that is too much workload for you to handle within a day, wake up Mr. Heathcliff from his workday nap and ask him to assist you in proofreading the document. Heathcliff, wake up! Yeah, what? And please, tell him to get himself a cup of coffee or any substance of the like from the break room. Yes, ma'am. As the fixer dragged the sleepy child to the break room, this child rose from her seat and slowly walked to the windows. Past the full glass window is a full view of numerous tall buildings, emblematic of the northern architecture. On the streets are people, so far and small, almost ant-like in the child's eyes, busily walking through their daily lives. The child sips on her cup of coffee as she reviews the adjusted plan, taking in the view, so that she could perfect the plan even further using Faust's knowledge. And the meticulously crafted plan began paying off almost as soon as the contract began in earnest. How's their arms still intact? We hit them with the explosives! We have been informed that the T-Corps backstreet syndicates often make use of inventions of more explosive variety. Model 40Y3, specifically crafted to stand high levels of heat and shock, was indeed a good choice of gear for this contract. The child's prosthetic eye had already finished mapping out the interiors of the dark warehouse. Just as she identified the trajectory of the bomb and where it flew from, she rushed forward and casually swung the two great swords attached to her prosthetic arms. And in a slash, their supposed leader's head was separated from his body. The henchmen began charging toward her, and the prosthetic fixers with swords and spears. But it was all a useless struggle. Whenever they managed to break their arms, the fixers would simply replace them with new ones. Let us move a little faster. We have a business meeting scheduled in 2 hours. It wasn't long before every single one of the syndicate's henchmen were on the ground. However, the child did not even spare a moment to celebrate, and instead walked toward one of the doors of the massive warehouse that the syndicate was guarding. A lamp that returns colours. I have never seen one this bright and large. Now the impressive magnitude of the contract sum seems more reasonable. Just as soon as the door swings open, the sepia-toned room immediately begins filling with brilliantly varied colours. That spectacular scene was enough to catch the attention of other fixers as well, who are finishing off the remaining syndicate henchmen. This thing is massive. I don't know if we have enough collective horsepower to, Oi, boss lady, do we really have to deliver this ourselves? Of course not. The Deviants Association has already been contacted and informed we would like for them to deliver this item to our client. When the hell did you... Never mind. This scuffle wasn't as exciting as I thought it'd be. right? I thought we'd struggle because we're all out of our elements here at T-Call Backstreets. A grin of an nigh unnoticeably slight arc appeared on her lips as she proudly crossed her arms together. The office fixer's response was that of unmitigated respect. Also, she's posing because she knows that this is going to be on the identity card. This can all be attributed to Faust's meticulous and flawless plan that eliminates all uncertainties and variables. And your contributions were also of some help, however minuscule they may have been. She did not forget to impart a few words of encouragement, fashioned in her very unique way of delivering them. Until next time, guys, take care. I'll see you all around.
해제 무렵까지 일해도 의체는 아프지 않아요. 삐걱거리게 된다면 정비를 해야겠지만요.